Okay, we're here in Parliament House, and I want to welcome Michael Smith, who's just walked how many kilometres?
Over 600. I haven't added up yet.
Over
I think
600 kilometres from Chewton in Victoria to introduce something that's really important to our Parliament and for the people of Australia. Over to you, Michael.
We have one of the best parliamentary democracies in the world, a cross between the British Westminster system and the US Congress, but there is a hole in it. Our Parliament is powerless when it comes to decisions about war. Our Prime Minister and Cabinet can involve Australia in a war without consulting Parliament and without getting Parliament's approval. Internationally, we are at the bottom of the table in terms of parliamentary involvement about decisions to do with war.
There's something else that's really important. Michael has got off his backside and walked over 600 Ks. He hasn't just gone on a hashtag on Twitter. He has actually put some effort into this, and that's why we're going to support this Australian in getting the reforms he needs. And you can see there was a banner a minute ago behind him. It's starting to rain, and there's a group actually allied with him in trying to push these reforms through Parliament, because we need to do this before any commitment of troops overseas or any forces overseas. We need to make sure that the Parliament representing the people have that final say, not a couple of people. And in fact, from what Alexander Downer, the former foreign minister of this country, said a few years ago in his retirement, John Howard came back from America and said, we're off to Iraq, one person. So we need to fix that so that 24 million people's representatives make the decision.
Malcolm, our Senate actually voted 37-32 against the invasion of Iraq, but the invasion, Australia's involvement in that invasion went ahead anyway, such is the powerlessness of the Senate. This legislation...
So the voice of the people is ignored.
Absolutely. Our Senate and Parliament has no power at all in decisions about war, and that's not how it was intended when it was set up in 1901. And the legislation that I'm carrying would require the Prime Minister to get the approval of both houses of Parliament first before involving Australia in a war. And it can be introduced in the Senate or in the lower house.
And this is not something you've cooked up in the kitchen one day. This is something that you've got an international lawyer involved in these matters to actually write for you.
That's right. Robert Amsterdam is one of the world's leading international lawyers. He's based in London and Washington. He's worked with parliamentary democracies all around the world, and he's prepared this legislation that will ensure that our Senate and Parliament is the body that makes these decisions, not one person or a small group of people in private.
And you said a while ago that the debacle with the UK in Iraq is now going to be fixed because they're changing the legislation down there.
That's right. The UK is similar to Australia in that the Parliament is not involved in the decision making, but following the Chilcot inquiry into the Iraq war, the UK Parliament is now going down the role of parliamentary involvement, and Australia is one of the last remaining parliaments in the world that is not involved in decisions about war. There are many countries where the Parliament makes the decision. Australia is not one of them.
Well, I'm new to the Senate, but it's obviously now up to me to start to educate myself on this matter and get it fixed. Thank you very much.
Malcolm, thank you for being
here.
Thank you very much.
You want to come up for the cup of tea?
Yeah, that'd be great.